The first day of school, I have 2 children with special needs. Took them to their class. It's the first day they didn't cry. This is going to be a wonderful day. A few minutes later, we hear on the radio, plane has hit the World Trade Center. All police, fire, emergency personnel report to your job. You're mobilized. You're recalled. Go to the office in Brooklyn. Captain said, apparently under attack. Suit up, gear up, make your way over to the World Trade Center. We're getting dressed, getting our gear together. The radio announcer screaming, second plane hits the World Trade Center. Running out of the building. Captain says, slow down, put your uniforms on. We said, Cap, put your uniforms, we're wasting time. He says, put your uniforms on. He let her explain why we wear a nameplate on a uniform. In case we're injured or killed or missing, we're easy to identify. So we try to get, a couple of the officers try to get to the island of Manhattan. There's no way, the bridge is closed, the tunnel's closed. So what do? We commandeer some small fishing boats. They ferry us on the Hudson. We get off the boat. First thing, when the cops had the sense to get a mask, now it was a sunny day, it's black, okay? It's snowing, dust and soot is snowing on us. Uniforms turned white. We got navy blue uniforms and white. So when the cops had the sense to get a mask with the rubber band, put it on. So I was crossing the street, the first thing I noticed, we were about 1.5 blocks, 2 blocks from the World Trade Center. I noticed that women ran in their shoes, they dropped their pocketbooks, groceries, ran for their lives. We finally get across the street, we walk into the most horrific, horrible sight I've ever seen in my life. 2 giant buildings on the ground, just fire, smoke, glass, rubble. First thought in my mind, danger meter was on full tilt. I said, this is where I'm going to get hurt. This is where I'm going to lose my life, okay? My first thought, I need to get home to my children. So the first thing we did, there's nobody to give you directions. In police department, you train for just about anything, but you're not trained for this, okay? And we just searched, okay? We searched, we looked for hours, and everything was packed down. If you didn't move around, your shoes would have melted off your feet. The ground was so hot you couldn't breathe, your eyes burnt. Just awful, scary. You had fires, you had smoke, you had cable. Just awful conditions. I was scared to death, okay? And anybody who said they weren't scared, they were absolutely out of their minds. It was the most frightening experience I ever had in my whole life. So later on, like Judith said, they gave us buckets. We did the bucket brigade. We did it for hours until your arms were going to fall off. Okay, one of the rookie cops had his hand smashed. He had to retire from the department. We were ordered to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Many of us worked the 7th. I didn't go home in 3 days. My children didn't want to go to school. They were confused. How do you explain this to children who have special needs that don't understand? So the first 5 days was a recovery, a rescue mission. Then after that, it was a recovery. I was assigned, the ME had a tent set up off the site, and the victims' families, they asked to bring DNA samples. Some had hairbrushes, toothbrushes, medical records. It was horrifying to see these buildings on the ground, but to see the victims' families line up, it was awful. Okay, what do you tell them? What can you say to these people? It broke my heart. It really put a face on the evil of 9/11, the profound loss that it caused. On one of my tours, on the second week, I had a young boy about the age of my boy holding a toothbrush. Nobody was paying him any mind. He was an older sibling. I said, son, can I help you? He said, my dad's missing. Can you help me find him? I gave him a hug, and I promised we'll do everything we can to bring him home. But I knew we weren't going to bring him home. We all went with the greatest expectation to save someone, to bring them home, and we didn't. We failed in our mission. We all felt like losers. We went away so sorry, so angry with ourselves that we couldn't bring one person home to their families. I can't talk about 9/11 without talking about 2 of my brothers. The fire department, like the police department, it's a brotherhood. They're not just your co-workers, they're not your friends, they're your family, okay? And John Chapora, his name was Chip. We called him Chip, 39 years old, just got engaged. He was the policeman in my unit, but he rolled over to the fire because his dad was a firefighter. It was all about traditions. But what's crazy, in 1983, John was a U.S. Marine overseas in Lebanon. His barracks was bombed. He got injured. 200 soldiers were killed. John survived that attack only to die here on U.S. soil. My other brother, Harry Smith, he was my sergeant. He was that type of captain that would go down a sinking ship, and that's exactly what he did. He didn't have to be out here every day with his men, but he wanted to be. That's where he belonged. He woke up 9 years later, and his body was riddled with cancer. But before he died, he moved to a small town in Barnegat, New Jersey. And the mayor of that town gave him a plaque for his service. And a local news reporter interviewed him on his deathbed while on hospice. said, Harry, if you know now, will you still respond to the towers? And that man on his deathbed said he wouldn't change a thing. He was a hero, because I don't know if I would have said that. I would have been angry. That's how he died, a hero. So finally, at the end of March, I was reassigned back to my unit in Brooklyn. One weekend, a drunk driver rear-ends my car, damages my spine, shatters a disc in my spine. I was forced to retire from the Brotherhood of the Police Department. It was bittersweet to retire at 42, but I wasn't happy. I felt lost, felt alone, felt I had no more purpose in life. And my then wife would say, Paul, let's move away, start somewhere new. So I moved away 100 miles, South Jersey, bought a big house, grow my own fruit and vegetables, become a little farmer. Life felt normal. Then she would get a cancer diagnosis. 7 months later, God would call her home. But before she died, she said, Paul, volunteer, inspire people to do good. When people hear I was a first responder, they call me a hero. I never want to be called a hero. I did this much. The heroes are the people that come home like Kim's brother. The heroes are the people that are sick. All my friends, I have so many friends that are sick, that are dying with respiratory cancers. My younger brother's lungs are damaged. And once your lungs are damaged, they never go back. Thank you for this privilege, ladies and gentlemen.